You're listening to the After the Show movie podcast brought to you by ascully.com. And here are your hosts, A Scully and Sid Talk. Afternoon, everybody. Afternoon, Sid Talk.
After the noon to you.
If you have a cold room in your house, buy a couple of gaming PCs, play some games, close the doors. It'll be like warm within an hour, won't it?
Is this the before the after the show discussion?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. They're good.
If you're thinking it, that's not a discussion. That never came out. I mean, we've discussed it in the past.
The show
way before the after. Oh, that's a whole new segment. What I was thinking before the after the show before the after the show discussion.
My thought of the day is, don't bother with a heater. Just get a PC.
Good to know, because it does work. Now that we're both in here, it'll warm up this room really fast.
Yeah, as long as you play a game and get your graphics card hot, it's amazing how much heat they give up. So there you go. Our, frugal tip.
Correct. Homeowner tip of the day.
Don't use your heating, just put your PC on. Okay. So, Sidto, what else have you got to say at the beginning here?
Before the after the show discussion really wasn't anything, was it?
It was stuff. I heard stuff.
It was random. You heard stuff. That sounds very husbandly of you. I heard stuff coming out of your mouth, but nothing really.
Some things were said.
As often happens, we discussed this movie, which we're about to do as the actual podcast, and that's about it, really. Right. City Skylines.
Yeah.
Discussing City Skylines.
Everybody loves that game.
That's one of those pre-mentioned games.
True.
That's about it. Welcome to the show.
All right, so it is Saturday, October the 27th. Happy Halloween. Our Halloween, we did Hereditary for Halloween. That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's over already.
So
you don't seem to get in the spirit of what it means to actually, do a Halloween movie.
I actually do, because today's movie is about the horror of being in the 8th grade.
That's true. That is actually that's accurate, yeah. I'll go with that one.
All right, so this is After the Show number 554. We are a movie review podcast. We review a movie every week. This week, we are reviewing the movie 8th Grade. It's a 2018 movie. You can pick it up on Blu-ray now, and it's rated R from our friends at Lionsgate and A24 Pictures, who sent us a copy for review. Sid Talk, give us the synopsis of 8th Grade.
Are they really our friends? Are they our friends?
Yeah.
Don't use that word so loosely. Come on. Would they hold my hair back if I was puking in the toilet?
Possibly. If you caught them at the right time.
I think I'll email them and say, I just have one question for you. My synopsis is what you said. This is about the 8th grade, but it's about one particular girl and her 8th grade. Not even about the 8th grade experience. It's about being that age and about coping with life. And she's kind of coping with if you ticked a bunch of boxes for scenarios for an 8th grader to have to face. Bitchy girl, jerky guy, awkwardness, annoying parent in your own mind, annoying parent, awkward social situation, and school. This is it.
Yeah. So, what I really like about these Lionsgate A24 pictures that we often review is I generally know nothing about them because they're smaller independent movies and you know they don't have huge marketing budgets, so they're not thrust into your face every 2 seconds. And often you get a nice surprise out of them, right? Like American Animals that we saw recently. And I think 8th Grade was also a nice surprise.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. And it's a movie with a lot of feeling. That's my thing for it. Is it a synopsis? No.
I think that's reasonable. It's got a lot of feeling. Yes.
It's got a lot of feeling to it. It feels very realistic to me. I've no experience of a American school, but I do have experience of a British school. There's assholes in all schools.
Absolutely.
And school is a cruel, cruel place.
She's a cruel mistress.
Yeah.
School.
You know, and as I was watching this movie, I was like, it's not just a cruel place because of the kids. It's also a cruel place because of the structure of school and the way in this school you see like the teachers like you get forced into doing particular things as a kid there where they think it's a learning experience and it'll make you grow. But often it comes across as cruel, the part where I said, where in this movie where they have to go to a high school and shadow a high school kid.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that sounds like a fun concept, but it also sounds like a recipe for, like, disaster to me. Like,
Why?
Like, kids from another school wandering around a high school, and the high school's also full of cruel kids who think that those kids are, like, new.
No, they didn't really portray that. You're projecting that. You're saying that because
I
that's how
in-
it feels.
In real life, I believe that.
Yeah, but that's not how it's portrayed in the movie. You get the gigglers and the eye rollers, but in fact, her experience is she meets up with a nice young girl, and her girl's friends are nice, and they're just normal teenage kids.
Yeah, but I don't feel like that is these
right, but what you're doing is saying there are horrible people in that school, but it's not portrayed that way.
No, not in this movie.
No, this isn't a bully high school movie at all.
I'm thinking more of in a real life scenario.
Right, but we're talking about this movie, and they did not portray that in this movie.
They did not, and I did not claim they did.
You did. You just said it was full of rude teenagers, and it's not.
No, I'm saying high school could be full of rude, not that one, but like in real life, a high school is full of cruel teenagers.
It can be, but you did say this movie was. But it's,
I didn't mean to say this movie.
Okay.
And I thought I said something else. But
nope. You didn't.
And the listeners now are going, yeah, he did.
Nope.
He was correct.
They're not.
Because, they can listen back.
They're not right.
So, I don't know nothing about a teenage girl growing up in a 8th grade. I don't even know what 8th grade is. I don't know how old that is.
14.
I mean, I do now after watching the movie.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me think. Like when Americans watch Harry Potter and it says like year 7 and year 8. I bet that's a bit of a thing for you lot. And you're like, what? How old's that, man?
Correct. Like, what the hell are you even talking about? Yep.
So 8th grade, what I gather, my version of it is it's the year when you finish that middle school and go to the high school. Whereas in England, we don't have like 3 schools like that. We go from, junior school to high school. Whereas you go from what they called
middle school?
What are your 3 versions of school called?
Elementary.
Elementary, right.
Or some people call it primary. So elementary, middle school, or some people call it junior high, because before you go to senior high, and then you go to high school or senior high.
So for our British listeners, which I have a few, I know, like in Britain, we go to, our high school. We are 11 years old when we go to high school, and you are?
When you go to high school, you should be 15. Well, it depends.
We leave high school at 15.
Right. So some of our high schools start in 9th grade, which would be 15, 16. Some start in 10th grade, which would be 16, 17, or 15, 16, depending on when you're born as well. There could be a whole year difference. So we get the idea. You guys get out of your primary educations before you go to university at 16, but that's actually not correct. You get out of your high school, quote unquote, at 16. However, you do another year or 2 of more intense study, which is probably at our high school level. It's just sort of your precursor of going to college. So you have a little interim there between 16 and 20.
You're talking about sixth form, aren't you?
Whatever that is after you get out of your 16-year-old thing.
You don't have to go to that. That's like a...
Right. But do you go to college, you would.
Right.
Right? You have to take classes. You kind of take more focused classes, and then you go on to university or onto whatever. So it's kind of funny if we say, oh, they get out of high school at 16. Well, it's not like they know everything we know at 16, at 18.
No. A lot of people just get a job at 16 and don't go to further education. So this movie, you being an American and being an 8th grader, you were once an 8th grader a long time ago. And,
a long time ago, my ass.
And
that's correct. That was 40 years ago.
Almost. Does this movie ring true to you? I mean, it is more modern than when you went to school.
Yeah,
back in
the 8th grade
60s.
thing. As far as a school, I did not go into a city school. I went to a very tiny school. So we're talking about a big, huge difference culturally there. However, this person that we're watching, I'm still her. this young person that we're portraying and that this young lady portrays perfectly is an absolute representation of not just an 8th grader, but people through their entire lives. She has anxiety about, I don't know, we didn't go into her head, right? But it was just anytime she was forced into a social situation where we made it visually clear all the other kids are very, outgoing. They seem socially acceptably attractive, whatever that is. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing a big distinction here. And then when you look at her and she's like, she's just an average girl. But you understand from her body language and how she feels that every situation she goes into, she feels like she doesn't belong there. She can fake her way through it, which is the other thing I totally identify with, is not being a fake person. But she even discusses being a version of yourself where you're like, I can do this. I can do this. I can get up in front of people. I can do karaoke. When on the inside, you are like a volcano of emotion where all you want to do is hide away, right? So I completely identified with her and the way they portrayed it, where she did the things. She went to the pool party. She put on the swimsuit. She went out in the middle of all the kids. She got in the front row of the group picture where you feel like you want to die when you know you're going to be right or wrong, whatever people want to say about it, but you're going to be the fattest person in the picture, the grossest person in the picture, the pimpliest person in the picture. And you just go ahead and do your thumbs up, like, this is great. This is great. On the inside, you actually want to stop existing. And that's the way it made it look, and it was perfect.
Yeah, and to be honest, that when she goes to the pool party and puts on a swimming costume and is obviously uncomfortable, they didn't go overboard, like, with all the kids, like, laughing and smirking at her.
It was portrayed fairly that a lot of this is in our own perception of ourselves.
Yeah, I think that was what they did well.
Even though the mean bitchy girls, they remind you, yeah, we don't like you.
The mean bitchy girls almost were indifferent though about her. They didn't really care about her. They're
more like, huh?
They didn't want to like pick on her and say,
do you exist?
Fat. Yeah, they just didn't want to have anything to do with her, right? They just wanted to look at the phones and not listen to her. So yeah, this movie did have a different scenario. It wasn't the like common where you would see this girl come out in the pool party and then you see all the kids sniggering and talking amongst each other. So, and I was surprised at that because that's how we usually see it portrayed. And then as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, like you just said, a lot of it's in your own mind that people are sniggering and talking about you, but
absolutely,
that doesn't mean that isn't invalid thing. Like that means, that's something you have to overcome, I guess, and that's what this movie.
And that's what I was saying. I've overcome, or you overcome on a case, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, your ability to suppress that need to run away because you don't fit. Because you don't sometimes. I don't fit in a lot of times. I just don't. People will accept me. People who love me. People who get to know me like me or hate me, right? So either way, those I like. Really the polarized things I like. It's that middle ground where I cannot get myself to fit ever. I can't get in there. I can't be just... I can't feel like everyone's looking at me and I don't want to be doing small talk and I don't want to be in the middle of a conversation where I have to just smile and nod at everyone or be the one who clearly disagrees but is not going to rock the boat at the moment. I can't do any of that. And that's what makes me feel like super anxious and like, that thing where she slumps her shoulders and you mostly see the top of her eyelids, the top of her forehead a lot of the time in this movie, or her from behind with her kind of slumpy shoulders. That's how I feel on the inside.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, wow, I'm 50, but I get it.
It's like the movie The Wrestler, but like a teenage girl version of that, where you're following that wrestler from behind and you're actually understanding how people look at him.
It really does give you some sort of empathy.
Yeah.
You are literally right on the shoulder of this person. and then you can kind of they let it make it so you can see what's going on around and your own body language. I think it's a good technique. It can get overused occasionally, but
yeah,
I think it was well used in this one.
Yeah, I do too. So what did you... I found this movie, not only is it like kind of heartbreaking in a way a lot of the time, there's some scenarios where you're like, oh my God, that's harsh or horrible, but it's also very funny.
Yes.
Did you find it funny?
I did. Like the awkward kind of funny where you're like, oh God.
I really liked the part where there's a really the hot kid in class, I guess. He has an awesome soundtrack every time you see him. This awesome music starts playing. That's how she kind of pictures him.
Correct.
And then it turns out he's not. Maybe he's the hot dude, but he's also a dickhead.
Dickhead, yes.
Right, and she kind of finds out that he is the kind of dude that would drop a girlfriend because she wouldn't do something with him. Oh, she wouldn't send dirty pictures.
Correct.
So she's like, well, if that's a way I can get with him, then I'll try that. So she kind of goes up, and it's really funny that she's just like, hey, I just did something really embarrassing. Yeah. He's not even listening to her, is he? He's playing his game. And she's like, I just did something really embarrassing. I opened my dirty pictures folder on my phone, and he's like, instantly his ears prick up, like, ooh.
So that must be what it's called in the young people circles, the dirty picture folder.
And then he's like, it's really funny. He's like, so she goes, no, they're just for my boyfriend. And he's like, who's your boyfriend? And you can see in his mind, he's like, well, I'll be your boyfriend if I can see the dirty picture folder.
Yeah.
And she's kind of into that, because that's, well, maybe it's a way I can get in on him. That seemed very real to me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's an awkward way of, oh, well, maybe he'll pay attention to me if I show him a dirty photo, but...
people say all the time to me in life still, oh, I bet once a month somebody says, oh, you don't have any kids? Oh, in that sort of like, oh, what a shame. And I think this is the kind of character that reminds me that in real life, I would be either the worst mother in the world, right? Seriously.
Which character? This dude?
The girl and the dude. Well, the girl. Think of the girl and her approaching this dude and then knowing that on her phone, as we see it on her laptop, she then goes and does research on how to give a blowjob. We'll just say that's what she goes on and does. I would be the mom who is monitoring my child. I'm not kidding you. I would be the worst, most overprotective. I'd bust in the room and go, are you kidding me right now? You're 14 years old. Why are you looking up blowjobs? Just explain this to me right now. Nope. Don't cry. Don't get mad. Just tell me right this minute what inspired you to do that search. Just tell me and we'll move on. I would just be that intrusive. I have no doubts about it. Either that's the best mom or the worst mom. But this movie reminds me, I can't imagine putting a person out into the world. Not in this generation, not ever. Because there's so many, we meet a guy who's not just this little dude, but another dude who's just a twat.
Much older dude.
Horrible shithead motherfucker. Pardon my language. There's the big one. But that would be, I get defensive of this girl and she's a fictional character. And I want to go rip his head off.
Yeah, this movie goes to a place where I thought it was actually going to get very dark.
Oh, me too.
But it doesn't cross that line, but it actually shows, if a teenage girl, if you sit down with your teenage girl and watch this movie, and your teenage girl can relate to it, and so can you, there is definitely a discussion to be had after it that is valid.
Absolutely.
Very real, So it's not just...
uncomfortable, but very important.
Yeah. So, in this movie, they even have a scene where all the kids are sat in class watching, what's that video? Like sex ed
about
video.
That hair down there.
It's just funny, because it reminds me of being at school, and we watch those videos too.
I don't remember any of those. I know people seem to romanticize them and stuff, but I do not remember any sort of sexual education.
I do.
At all. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we didn't have it in my school. I don't know. Or I wasn't paying attention. Or I didn't care. I don't know.
But yeah, there's a lot of things in it. What was in this movie? What was the thing that stood out to you most?
What do you mean? In general? Just this girl just seemed so real and so genuine.
Did you cry?
I cried. Yeah, I cried because I was thinking, my God, if this was my daughter. You know? Like, and the dad situation where he just loves her to bits and yet, you know.
Yeah, she's explaining about a parent situation.
Well, she's being raised by a single dad. And you don't really know the situation there, but he's a single dad, you know, raising her up. And he just loves her, but, and you mentioned before, like, you know, would a mother have a different understanding of this teenage girl? I'm like, no. There is no understanding.
No.
A young girl between the ages of 12 and 17. It is like a alien from another planet, and I mean that in the best way, because I was one myself, but I was horrible. Absolutely horrible.
I do like when he's driving her, and she's like, what did she say? Don't do.
Don't just sit there and look
Yeah.
like that. And he's like, well, I'm looking at the road. She goes, I don't mean don't look at the road. I mean, just don't look like that while you're looking at the road. Because it's like sad and pathetic. And then we don't see it. He must make a face.
A different face.
And she's like, oh, now that's even worse. And you're like, it's impossible. It's truly impossible. But again, I would be the worst mom because I am the snot queen. I was the snottiest. Snot as in being snotty, not, you know.
Bogies.
I was the snottiest, the most hateful. I can still be very hateful. So I understand completely. You pull that shit on me, it's not gonna fly. I'll either laugh in your face or I'll be like, all right, girl, you just threw it down. You want to get in this with me? We're in it. That would be my attitude as a mother. Or I'd just be like, oh my God, you're so ridiculous. Are you kidding me right now? And I'd probably crush her little spirit like every single day. Just be like, girl, you don't even know how to be snotty. Let me teach you a few things.
Yeah, so the comedy level is good.
Yes.
There was some very funny moments. The drama level is really good. I mean, the scene between her and her dad where he's just telling her, he just loves her. And
how good, yeah.
Yeah, that way he's saying what a good person she is. Even if you weren't my daughter, I'd think you were a cool person. Like,
she's like, Dad, shut up.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And there were some really touching moments. One of the moments where Dad comes in to check on her in a room and she's doing something.
Yeah.
But then another time when he comes and he says, I love you, and she says, I love you. There's small moments where it's like, they're a real family, but it's just tough for her.
It's a tough time. I do think that it's human as well. I think if you went to every culture on the whole planet, I mean, it wasn't easy for you to be a teenager, right? Just because you're British.
Well,
does it instantly make everything better?
No.
Okay, so I think it's everywhere. Why is it terrible? Why can't we figure this out?
I don't know.
Why can't we figure out as like a species, like, okay, when we hit 12 years of age, chances are we are going to have a mental battle between the world, ourselves, and our body. That's just the way it is. Let's figure out a way for us to all. Should we just ship everybody off to like a special teenage place, And then it would be like what's it called? The island with the kids.
Hunger Games?
Hunger Games, but not Hunger Games.
Battle Royale?
Battle Royale, yes. Just put them on. As soon as you turn 12.
You mean survival of the fittest?
Yes. Now just Battle Royale. As soon as you turn 12, honey, I'm going to send you off to this island where all the misfit children live, and all misfit meaning everyone between the ages of 12 and 18. And then if you come back alive, great. No, that's a bad plan.
That sounds like a bad idea.
It's a bad plan.
I really enjoyed the film. Some people, I was just reading a couple of reviews. Some people were saying, well, it doesn't really go anywhere. There's no, I don't subscribe to that. I think it does go somewhere. It goes with her from being at the beginning of the 8th grade to being, where is she at the end? Graduation,
the end of 8th grade.
Yeah, you graduate.
Actually, you're not at the beginning of 8th grade. It's 1 week to the end of 8th grade when we come into the movie.
Even when that video at the beginning that she's saying.
She does her video, I think, at the beginning of her 8th grade year, but the movie actually starts 1 week before 8th grade graduation.
And they use this like time capsule thing to like let her have a conversation with herself almost.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's an interesting way of doing it. So moving on to the cast, Elsie Fisher plays Kayla Day. She's new. She's not been in anything. What do you think?
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, like
I can't wait to see her in anything else. I'm excited to see her again.
She's supernatural. Not supernatural. That's a different movie.
I didn't notice that part.
That's Hereditary. Supernatural when she's acting it. I bought every time when she was talking, I was like, oh, at that part where she went to the pool thing and she was sat in that room and the kid come in and she was like really awkward with him.
Yep.
He come in to charge his phone and she's like, oh yeah, I sometimes my battery runs out of my phone.
My battery dies too. Like she's in this extreme awkward, embarrassed phase. It's hilarious.
Josh Hamilton plays the dad, Mark Day. I was like, I know this Josh Hamilton guy from somewhere. He was in that movie Away We Go. Do you remember that one with Office guy? He was.
I don't remember him.
He was one of their friends in that.
Right.
But he was actually one of the main guys in the movie Alive. If you've ever seen that, it's a very different movie. It's the movie.
It's a different kind of cannibalism. If we're talking about emotional cannibalism in high school,
cannibal movie. Yeah,
this is like real cannibalism.
Well, based on a real life thing where they had to survive by eating each other.
Did they though?
It's very savory.
Oh my god! You didn't just say that.
Emily Robinson plays Olivia. Now she's the high school student who she shadows and becomes friends with. I thought she was really good too. Very natural. Good. And my favorite thing in the entire movie is this guy called Jake Ryan who plays Gabe. And he is... You've all met a kid like him, right?
He's unapologetically himself.
But he's also like got the same issues as she has. He's very nervous and very... But he kind of uses something to, in this case, is joking and his personality...
Yep.
To kind of mask that he's inside, he's kind of crumbling and breaking. And also, if you watch the deleted scenes, magician, he knows magic.
Well, it's a bit of an exaggeration.
But
there are in life you meet people even as an adult who, because we've been conditioned to think of acceptable levels of coolness and confidence and people that are either icky to be around or cool to be around, whatever. We have all these pigeonholes everybody goes in. He fits in the hole of in your face, a little bit too much. Seems like
but charming.
Charming, but completely unaware of his like...
Kind of geeky, like nerdy.
A little nerdy, yes. But... And you could see why. He does seem like, even though it's not addressed, like he doesn't really fit. She comes to the party, right? The pool party, because the mom insists. And the weird thing was the mom asked about her dad a bunch of times. So I just wonder if the mom's like crushing on the dad.
Oh, that was the mom crushing on the dad. Yeah.
But then there was a man at the party.
There was.
But he was like a jerk. So I wonder if this mom of the snotty girl, the bitchy girl,
because the first thing she said, oh, your dad's not with you?
Yeah, and then she's looking out for the vehicle, and then you hear the dad of the snotty girl being kind of a jerk. So that was kind of an interesting, tiny little sub-story thing there going on.
Well, it doesn't really amount to anything. It's just
Correct.
Oh, there's a bit of an observation there. Because when she pulls up in the car to invite her to the party, the first thing that woman says is, your dad did something for charity or whatever. I just want to thank him. Right?
Yeah.
So, that woman seemed obsessed with the dad.
A little bit. It was funny.
This Jake Ryan kid, really, really funny. You've actually seen him before if you're a movie fan, especially a Wes Anderson fan. He was in the movie Moonrise Kingdom, which Sid Talk completely forgot about. It went off her radar.
Until he showed it to me, and I'm like,
It's a very funny movie. It's Wes Anderson, it's very Wes Anderson. But
correct.
But this kid, Jake Ryan, in this movie, the two scenes that he's only in two scenes really in this movie. One where he's in the pool and the other one where they're eating chicken nuggets, right? Both of those scenes were really funny.
Yeah, really good.
And if you watch the deleted scenes on this disc, so most times on Blu-rays, I'm like, oh, the deleted scenes are really boring. This just felt like another 10 minutes of the movie that was missing. Like, it really felt like deleted. It felt like it shouldn't have been deleted. It should have been in the movie and it would have been fine. So, big ups to Jake Ryan. This is directed by Bo Burnham, who he's a stand-up comedian who actually got famous from posting stand-up routines on YouTube. I was just reading. And YouTube actually, he got loads of views on there and then got jobs from that. But he's also in the movie The Big Sick that we have seen recently. I asked you and you said, well, I don't know what that is. But then, again, it was a movie we saw this year.
Hey, I'm into this mode now where in life I'm just moving on. Put it in there, make it go through. It hits a few synapses. Some things stick, some things don't, and then I just move on.
What do you think of this first-time director, Bo Burnham?
I thought he did a good job. It had a few of those sort of indulgent moments, as we discussed, over-the-shoulder watching quite a bit. Not to where it became the style of the movie, but enough to where you're like, okay, we get it, I get it. But I did like this sort of, because I like to take pictures and I like to draw pictures. And I sort of like the off-kilter balance, like it's even beyond asymmetrical balance. And he did that several times. I felt like in the moment, like the one time where she's talking to the girl on the phone and she's pacing in this tiny little pace.
Yeah.
I felt like he brought that out in her, or however it came about. It was done in a way where I felt her anxiety, like just from that little tiny closed little moment. And yet she's walking back and forth furiously, you know? So I think he did a good job with all the different kinds of elements.
It says on the back of this movie, a new iconic teenage heroine for the ages. Do you reckon?
Heroine.
All right, there are some extras on this disc. There is an audio commentary with director Bo Burnham and actress Elsie Fisher. That's cool. I'll be watching that, listening to that this week. There's deleted scenes, which, as I said to you, if you're a fan of this movie, watch those deleted scenes. Don't just think, oh, deleted scenes, because they are really, really good.
Yeah, they are relevant for sure.
And there is a featurette called You're Not Alone, Life in 8th Grade. It shows you how they made the film. It shows you interviews with Elsie and interviews with Bo. And there's a music video, which I didn't watch because I'm allergic to music videos. So overall, 8th Grade, I think it was a fabulous movie. Fabulous.
Yeah, really fun.
Very fun. Very poignant. If you are an 8th grader, I'm sure you can relate to something in here. Or if you've ever been an 8th grader. And I think if you are the owner of an 8th grader, is that the correct term for a parent?
For some people, yes.
You could sit down with your 8th grader and watch this movie and have a really nice discussion afterwards. It might be a little bit awkward.
Correct.
But it will also, I think it's...
And not just for parents of girls. If you're a parent of boys...
Right.
And you watch the scene in the car, you discuss that shit with your son. And you tell him, this better never, ever, ever be you. Or I'm calling that Sid Talk lady from that podcast, and she's going to beat your ass.
And if you're...
I can't do it because I'm your parent, but I will call her. And if she knows you've done this, you are in deep shit.
And also, if you're the dirty photo guy.
Yeah. I mean, the dirty photo guy seems more harmless, but then he could become the guy in the car.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right.
So, that is 8th Grade, available now. Next week, we will be reviewing the movie, and this is a long title. Don't worry, he won't get far on foot.
That is a long title.
Yeah, we'll be looking at that one next week. It stars Mr. Joaquin Phoenix. Is that how you say it? Joaquin?
Joaquin.
Joaquin
Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah, it stars that guy. Who we saw recently. What was that movie that we saw him in recently?
The one where he was that hitman guy?
Yeah, that was quite good.
That was.
Yeah.
Creepy and good.
Yeah. You Are Not Alone, I believe it was called.
Was it?
Sito won't remember.
You were never even here.
You were never even here. I was going to say you won't remember even watching the movie because it was about 3 weeks ago.
That one I remember.
All right, so movie recommendations. I was looking at this movie and thinking of other movies that captured like this kind of era properly, and I couldn't think of any. And I looked, even tried to look some up, and I couldn't think of any. So this is the definitive eighth grade movie, in my opinion. So I thought of some movies that were out when I was around this age. I'm probably wrong because I'm very out with dates. But these are movies I remember watching in formative years and thinking they were really cool. And number one is Matthew Broderick in War Games. What do you think of that movie?
High school, but yep.
And The Goonies, which were both...
That would be grade school / junior high, so yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, War Games was a big one for me because I was, super into computers and nerdy. So that was awesome. Like, the thought of like a teenager hacking into NATO is so cool. Like, and The Goonies because it's just a cool adventure. So those are two movies. It's not exactly based on what this movie is, but they're movies that I remember fondly. And yours are? Nothing to do with this movie.
Nothing to do with this movie because, of course, it is October, which means it is Halloween-y month or horror / science fiction / whatever.
Is it Shocktober?
No. Is that your whole question? No, it's not Shocktober. So this week I watched a couple of movies, actually both in the same day. One's called Backcountry, and that is a couple go out to the backcountry or to like a park and they go camping and there's a bear involved. And it is quite good.
I would say Jaws with a bear?
I was going to say it's very grisly. But that seems like I'm not trying to be funny. It's less of a horror movie, even though it's billed that way. But it's more like, oh, God, kind of movie. You know what I mean? Where you're like, oh, my God, would I be terrified? Would I run? Would I be like stupid enough to even do that? That kind of movie.
Right.
And the other one is, however people pronounce it, bokeh, Bokeh, which in fact, it just means the blur in the back. It just means blur or blurry. So it's like in photography, when the thing up close is crispy clear and the things behind it are blurry.
If you've ever watched a movie, you've seen bokeh.
If you ever looked at most photographs these days, if there's a light in the background and it's got that weird glow about it, that's what's called bokeh. So this is a movie where two young people, probably in their late 20s, have gone to Iceland for vacation together. They wake up one day and there are no more humans.
The humans are dead.
The humans are gone. They're not dead. They're just, everybody's gone.
Oh, the leftovers.
Kind of like the leftovers, but this is everyone. Except for two people. And so it is definitely metaphorical. It's a bit of a, what's that called? Allegory. Some of the challenges of God in the Bible are there. It's not overt until you start noticing that's what they're doing. It's not religiously preachy or anything, but it brings up that question a lot. And it's a little bit esoteric. Put that out there.
It sounds like you're actually describing The Leftovers.
No, The Leftovers has millions of people. Only 200,000 people left.
No,
though.
I mean about like it being like that they're doing The Leftovers is kind of like
but this is very extreme. It's more focused on one person, two people's interpretation. One person being sort of optimistic and like, look, we can just do whatever we want, and the other person going, why is this happening? And the other person saying, why does it matter? We can't do anything about it. Let's just live our lives. Yeah, but why? Why is it happening? It doesn't matter. Let's just go to the store and eat what we want before the food all goes bad. That kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's really serious. It's got a lot of self-indulgent stuff from the director with cuts, shots that look amazing, but then doesn't make sense the way it's edited together occasionally. But it looks beautiful most of the time. It's a little bit more dream quality sometimes. So that's called bokeh or bokeh, Bokeh.
All right, so Ace Scully stuff. I've been playing a very small game. It's called Red Dead Redemption 2.
How tiny is it?
I played the first, 3 hours last night?
Yeah, I'd say.
And you watched the entire thing.
Did.
So I'm going to ask you.
My opinion is irrelevant.
What you thought of the first 3 hours of Red Dead Redemption 2?
That was really good.
What it?
How in depth do you want me
describe
to go?
this to the viewers, listeners?
It's just a Western.
Not
A Western at the turn of the century. It's 1899. It's got, a group of con men / criminals on the make, bank robber people going, they're kind of wanting to head all the way out west, but they're stuck now because they were on the mountain. It was freezing cold, which was really good sequences. All of that looked amazing. They had to overcome that. And now it's just basically about this band of people who are criminals. Got a con man. I think there's some prostitutes in the group.
Yep.
Bank robbers, shysters, snake oil salesmen. They're all together, And it kind of reminds me of Oliver Twist as well, even though they're all adults. But the one guy in charge is like, here's the box. When you make anything out there, stealing and robbing and whatever, you give me some of it.
Yeah.
Or there will be consequences, kind of thing. And it's basically just that. And then your guy is the cowboy guy he's not really a cowboy, though. They're just criminals.
Yeah.
So cowboys are different than this Western criminal type. I know that you're confused because you're from England and you think everyone with a cowboy hat is a cowboy.
It's what you think of as cowboys from the movies, though, right?
No, not at all. A cowboy is, to me, cowboys are literally the cowboys. Like, they're from the Ponderosa. They are wrangling cattle and running ranches, moving cattle thousands of miles. Anyone involved in that kind of industry, that's a cowboy living hard out on the, that does not equal criminal bank robber. That's a different thing. That's like the difference between redneck and hillbilly, which you also don't understand. So I wouldn't class them all as cowboys.
They're not good guys.
They're not good guys. But it's really fun. It's a fun one to watch. It looks really cool. It's got, all the weird stuff like you have to shave the guy or and you have to wash his face. I mean, it's very granular sometimes.
The voice acting is very awesome. Mm-hmm. I did notice it. I mean, it comes across like a movie. But the graphics are really, spectacular, I think. From, it's an open world kind of game.
Definitely.
It starts off the bit that you saw is not the open world type part. It's more of a kind of enclosed, you're trapped on the mountain, and it's a tutorial of sorts. I did the bit this afternoon, which you didn't see, where I went into the town. And I went into the town with 3 of my prostitute ladies, and the prostitute ladies got to work immediately.
Ah.
And I went into the hotel, and I asked the guy at the desk, and I said, is one of my ladies coming in? He says she's in room 2B. I go up to room 2B, and there's some weird noise. I kick the door open, and the guy's beating the crap out of her.
And so you had to beat the crap out of him?
Beat the crap out of the guy, took her home. She was very thankful, but she said, you don't really have to look after me. I can kind of look after myself. And he was like, yeah, I understand that, but, this was a circumstance I don't think you would have got out of.
Was it Molly, the Irish lady?
Yeah, it was Molly. Yeah.
Okay. See, I've got to know him already.
She's very bruised. So
Molly.
So it's huge as well. I mean, I played 3 hours there. That was like a movie in itself. And this game, they're saying the story alone takes 65 hours to get through. So you're looking at a 100-hour game, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey that I've been playing recently, which is another 100-hour game. I've seen people dock these games points because they're too long. And I said to you, I don't get that.
No.
Because you don't have to rush through it. If this game lasts you all winter, you play it 2 hours a day. That's cool, right? For your money?
Yeah.
Do you just want a short game, 10 hours, and then you just throw it away again? I don't get, the too long thing. If you like Red Dead Redemption, wouldn't you want to play it every single day until spring? Or would you want to just play it for 10 hours and then that's it? I don't... I as long as possible, I say, if you like it. So I don't get that. But this is a really, really, really detailed game. We even saw poo. We saw the horse pooing.
Yeah.
We saw there's a load of individual items all over the table. It looks like somebody's been living there. So if you look at any other game, there's a lot of copy and pasting going on. I've only played about 3 hours. You go in a house, and that's the same bathtub in every house.
That will be a Jimmy John's.
You kind of don't notice it at first, but then when you've played the game for a while, you're like,
they have new wheat rolls, not just the flat wheat bread. And what was your conclusion on that?
My conclusion was it's better than the white bread.
Well, I disagree with that assessment, but it was really good. So that's where I am.
Nice.
I'm lazying out.
What's
Definitely.
your advice?
My advice is to listen to me. Take my advice.
That's not good advice.
Because I take my advice most of the time. You know, like lately I've felt in this like weird funk, blah. You may not notice it, but because I'm taking my advice, and that even when inside I'm like, oh my God, if I have to like have one more conversation about a video game or a movie or a conversation at work about anything, I'm just gonna like shut down. I don't care about anything. Don't care. Don't care to hear it. Don't care to discuss it.
Do you have depression? Clinical depression?
It is not clinical depression. No, that would be unreasonable to people who do have it. This is more like absence of everything, but not a bad mood. Not a like bad crawl in bed, hide from the world. It's just this floating blah with no motivation to start any new projects, which you know I love my projects, to start anything, to
Is
do
it a
anything.
chemical imbalance?
I don't think so. I'm not asking for a diagnosis here. I'm just telling you.
I'm being
and so my
Dr. A.
advice,
Scully.
but you're not. So my advice is when you feel like this, but it's not a thing. It's not caused by a thing. It's not an internal thing. It's just, don't know. It's a phase. They just gotta suck it up sometimes, you know? Just suck it up. Yes, sometimes you do. And you just go like, okay, on the inside today, I feel like I want to wrap a blanket around me and put headphones in and ignore the whole entire world. I don't give a shit about paying the mortgage or getting gas or buying your milk or getting the bread or making the supper or taking a bath or going to sleep. Nothing matters. However, those things do matter. So I have to just stop being a big fucking baby and just do it. And then when you do it and you go through some motions, internally you're still like, whatever. And occasionally, because you just keep moving forward, you're going to stumble on a thing that gives you pleasure, that gives you satisfaction, that pulls you out of the funk a little bit, and you kind of chip away at it until it starts to lift. So I'm taking my own advice and not acting on, like, not projecting it onto the whole world or even onto you if I can avoid it, and just processing it in myself. Why would I think this way? Why do I feel this way? Am I just being a big baby? Is it something in my body? I don't know. Is it because I have to have a project? You know, I'm examining that in my life. Is it because I need to be like, do a thing, draw a picture, make a banner, plan an event, you know? And why? Why would I have to do that to feel satisfaction? Why can't I just lay on the couch all day and watch movies and be satisfied with that occasionally? Not every day. So, you know, it's a process, and I'm trying to just work through it without letting it make me do what I want to do, which is just become invisible to the whole world.
Nice.
Thanks. Is it?
All right.
Is it though?
So you can catch this podcast on ascully.com. Sid Talk has a website also, sidtalk.com. You can catch us on Twitter, Facebook, iTunes Music Store for the podcast, Google Play Store, RSS feed. Just go to ascully.com, click on the word podcast. You can also use your Amazon device and say your trigger word, listen to After the Show Movie Podcast on TuneIn. It will play you the latest episode. We also upload the podcast to YouTube. Email feedback to me at ascully@ascully.com. Don't email Sid Talk. And stay classy, Miss... What's her name?
Elsie something.
Elsie something. Stay classy, Miss.
The young lady in this
Elsie
movie.
Fisher.
Okay.
Upcoming... Well, not an upcoming star. Already a star in my eyes.
Nice.
Thank you.
And I'm going to say think for yourself, or someone will do it for you.